friends and family. It's the last check-in for Better Financial Day. We've talked about money. We've talked about saving. We've talked about checking your credit. We've talked about financial planning. We've talked about retirement. So much we've covered. And all of those things are absolutely necessary. But I saved the best for last. There's going to be some religious people that say I should have did this first because of what I'm talking about. But I think we saved the best for last. And I'm excited about this one. This is actually my favorite part of all of this. Because actually, it's when you do these things that we talk about today, it's what's going to unlock the ability to make everything that we've talked about in the last few weeks just flourish. And that is tithe, offering, alms, and seed giving. Now, some of you guys are going to be like, Brittany, I have no idea what you're talking about. Some of you guys are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. I believe that God opens the door for us to do great things on this earth. But I also believe that God gives us certain principles and commandments that help us to do those things. And one of those principal commandments is the giving, how you give in church, how you give to your community, how you give to the body of Christ. And so when you do those things, then all other aspects of your finances can flourish. You will see yourself not have only a better financial day, but an excellent financial day, a fruitful financial day, an overflowing financial day. And that's what I want to see happen for you guys as well as for myself. The number one way is the tithe. Malachi 3 is probably one of my favorite scriptures. It's Malachi 3, 8 through 12, and it talks about bringing your tithe into the storehouse. If you don't know what a tithe is, it is the first 10% of your earned income, whatever it is. So if this week I earned $1,000, but I only brought home a check for $600 because of insurances and taxes and things of that nature, I earned $1,000. So I'm going to tithe 10% off that $1,000. So that means I'm going to take $100 as my tithe. That is the very first thing I do. I don't wait until everything is spent. I don't wait until everything is done. I pay that tithe first. And God promises that he will open up the windows of heaven and pour us out a blessing we don't have room enough to receive. He also promises to rebuke the devourer for our sakes. So that means things that try to come in and take your money, he takes care of that for us. And that is the tithe. It is the first form of giving that you do. The second form would be Firstfruits. I just recently got a new job and about a year ago, and I also just recently got a raise. That first bit of that money that I got with this raise goes to God. I honor him with my first fruits. I encourage you to do the same. I encourage you to maximize your giving. Proverbs 3:9 says, honor the Lord with your possessions and with the first fruits of your increase. I made it increase. And I want to show God that I honor him. I thank him for giving me the opportunity to make greater money. And so I want to honor him with my first fruits. The third one is alms. A lot of people usually start with this one. They don't do the tithe and they don't do the first fruits. They start with the alms. And that is when you give to the poor. That's when you give to those in need. And we will do that piece, but we have to start with the tithe. Proverbs 19:17 says, he who has pity on the poor lends to the Lord, and he will pay back what he has given. That means that when you take care of the poor, God takes care of you. We're talking about having a better financial day. Oh my gosh, who better to get into your finances? Who better to take care of your finances and take care of you than the Lord? He is so awesome. He has so much. He has so much to give, way more than any of us could ever do. So even with everything that I've told you to do practically with your finances, God can multiply it in ways that you could never imagine. And lastly, seed offering. That's, man, I'm telling you right now, this stuff I'm talking about, a lot of people would say, man, that's some crazy stuff. That's that crazy Christian. That's that crazy TBN, you got gold chair stuff. You're right. It is. But I've watched it in my life. I've watched God do crazy stuff, crazy gold chair TBN in my life. Just a little testimony. I remember being a single mom, and you're going to hear me talk about that season in my life. He's done a lot in my married life, but I talk about this single mom life because I knew that the only person that was really going to be able to help me was God. And I remember at a time that I was doing tithes, and I was doing first fruits, and I was doing alms, and I was doing seed offering there. And I woke up one morning and I was looking through I had a big purse. Earlier this week, my friends and I were talking about the different styles of purses, and I actually had a hobo purse. It was a big, huge hobo style purse with a bunch of stuff in it, and I was digging through it looking, and somewhere at the bottom I had a child support check that I hadn't cashed. I had gotten the child support check and forgotten I had it, and I was like, wait a minute, what? Where does this check come from? So I set it to the side, and I was still looking for my lipstick, and I went into one of the zippered pockets, and let me tell you, it was a second child support check, 2 months worth of checks that I hadn't cashed. God was providing for me, even though I had the checks in my hand. I hadn't cashed the checks, but I was honoring God. I was doing the practical things that we discussed as best as I could. But more importantly, I was doing the spiritual things. I was honoring God with my tithe, and I was honoring God with my first fruit, and I was giving alms to those who were less fortunate than I was. There's always somebody less fortunate than you are. And I was sowing seeds into the kingdom of God, and I watched God bless me tremendously. And soon after, he gave me a helpmate to help me where I am now. So seed offering, let me get to that. I want to make sure that I tell you. Mark 4:3-9 says, listen, behold, a sower went out to sow, and it happened as he sowed that some seed fell by the wayside, and the birds came of the air and devoured it. Some fell on stony ground where it did not have much earth, and immediately it sprang up because it had no depth of the earth. But when the sun was up and it was scorched, and because it had no root in it, it withered away. And some seed fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked and yielded no crop. But other seed fell on some good ground and yielded a crop that sprang up and increased and produced some 30-fold, some 60-fold, and some 100. And he said to them, he who has ears to hear, let them hear. Let me tell you, there's nothing like sowing seed in good ground. If you have a great seed and you put it in good soil, you'll have a good fruit product. You'll have a good plant. And so I know we've talked about all of these practical things over the last few weeks, but more importantly, and I said it when I started, I saved the best for last. I want to encourage you to do one of the most empowering and important things that you can do with your finances, and that is to give. Tithe, number 1. First fruits, number 2. Alms, number 3. And 4, seed offering. I challenge you. I'm really challenging you. Even in Malachi, it says, prove me. God says, prove me. He said, challenge me. I challenge you to do it. I challenge you to do this one before you even do the others. And see, don't you have an opportunity beyond measure to do all the other things that we talked about. I want to see you have a better financial day. And I'm telling you, if you will honor these things, you will be amazed at how your finances will overflow. One of my good friends, one of my best friends, actually was telling me how she and her husband began to look back at their tithe report for the year of 2017, and it didn't make sense because of the money that they made and how much they gave. They gave beyond the tithe. They knew that they were in need, and they gave beyond the tithe, and watched God meet every need in 2017. So no, she wasn't able to go out and do all of the extra financial planning and the extra retirement. But in this season, God provided everything she needed. So even if she never is able to save money for retirement, because she's actually putting her investment finances in the kingdom today, when retirement comes, she will be taken care of. She has placed her seed in fertile ground. Her and her husband have placed their seed in fertile ground. And as a matter of fact, I just want to give this little tidbit. She told me that one week, and then the next week she came in and said her husband got a brand new job, and they were seeing finances. They were seeing production. They were seeing fruit in their marriage and fruit in their lives for their obedience. So for their obedience in 2017, God greatly blessed them in 2018. He did it for her. He did it for me. He's doing it for us. And he can do it for you. So if you really want to have a better financial day, yes, do all the things that I told you earlier, but more importantly, Focus on the things I told you today, and you will see a harvest like never before. I love you. I pray God blesses you the 30, 60, 100 fold for your obedience. I pray that you see a better financial day, and I want to hear about it. Let me know. Message me, text me, email, whatever it is, however you find me. I want to hear about it. I want to hear your testimony. We are going to have a better financial day. We are going to be blessings that you would not believe. I love you guys. Have a great week.